one thing that you traditionally don't do is talk about money at the table, right? Mm-hmm. Or religion or politics. That's inappropriate. But this time of year, with everything going on, I bet people are doing it more often. In fact, a Bankrate study found 38% of U.S. adults feel comfortable talking about their personal finances with their friends and family.
I think that's kind of high, don't
That's,
you?
I was going to say, I don't want to sit here and just go, well, look at what I made this month, and no.
It's like a taboo. It's like talking about, sex or like things like that. Like nobody wants to talk about that,
I
right?
want to.
I literally opened the door and let
You
you walk
did.
right in on that one, not meaning to. I was just thinking of taboo subjects, and that's the first thing that came to mind. But really, I mean, it is. And, we often joke that we break the rule, and we may, we know who's listening to the show for the most part. So we know that the listeners that call in typically have the same viewpoint. So we're a little more open, open with our opinion on the show. But, I think the reason why you shouldn't talk about those things in public is because so many people don't know how to throw the filter on them when the filter's needed. That's why. So I think it would be perfectly acceptable to talk about politics and religion at the dinner table if people can be respectful to one another when they're having the conversation.
And we do at our house. We talk about money. We're always teaching the boys about investing and money and, what things cost and, how to be prepared for life because they've got it kind of cushy right now. To be honest, they've got a cushy life. And we want to help them be prepared for when it isn't so cushy, when you got to, buy your own bacon and your own bread and your own stuff and you got to pay your own rent and you've got to do all those things. You got to be ready for that and understand what those things cost. And then, we want them to have not just an opinion about politics, an opinion about, Jesus and church and the things of God. We want them to have a reason why they believe what they believe. We really do. And, when it comes to these types of things, I believe it's more important than ever that we be comfortable with talking about money. In fact, we just brought on a new family here maybe within the last 2 months. And the wife had inherited some money from her parents. And so we got through their entire plan. And she said, would you be willing to talk with my sister? I said, well, sure. I said, what's going on there? She said, well, my sister also inherited about the same amount of money, but she was never good with money. And, it's very difficult for her to have a conversation about because she's never had any money to work with. She wasn't good at saving. And I said, I'd be happy to. And they came back in a couple weeks ago and they said, well, right now, sister isn't quite comfortable with coming in and talking with you. I said, well, here's a copy of my book. Give her a copy of my book and let her read it. And then if she's comfortable, I'd be happy to meet with her. No pressure there. But, it was hard for that sister, because she was worried she was going to feel judged or.
What do you call that, Greg? You call that warming up the oven, right?
Warming up the oven. Woo.
Okay, you got to preheat.
Yes, preheat that thing. Oh, my. But there's 5 reasons I think that we need to learn to discuss our finances. One is you need to know where you stand.
Yeah.
You really do. I mean,
how do you know where you're going if you don't know where you're standing?
True.
I don't know.
Such an epiphany.
That came out completely wrong, but it actually made sense. That's not what I meant to say.
But with all the areas, with risk, with income, with taxes, with healthcare, and your possible exposure to those risks, and knowing where you stand, and knowing whether or not you need help, and that's a big one because so many are out there wondering, am I going to be okay? Do I have enough to last my retirement? Have I done the right things? Have I done enough?
Well, I'm thinking back to so many families we've worked with, Greg, and you said knowing whether or not you need help. I feel like sometimes it's just a matter of wanting help too. Don't you? Because think about so many of the families we work with, like they've done a good job on their own, right? So technically, from a technicality standpoint, do they need help if they've already, like, why fix something that's not broken? That mindset. But wanting help, I think, comes in when you come to the realization that retirement's different and that you don't know what the future holds.
Right.
And you don't know what you don't know, right? There's so many things we talk about on the show that had you not been exposed to it being in this industry, you just wouldn't know,
Right.
That's true. And the second thing is that things don't fix themselves. They don't just automatically get better. Things don't, heal themselves. It's not
And
like
that's
our
where the
skin,
need.
where we
Yeah.
get a cut and it heals itself. But our finances aren't that way. If you have debt, debt typically gets worse. If you have too much risk, that risk can really expose, the hard times of the markets. If you have a tax burden, those taxes don't typically get better over time. So all those things are looming and they don't fix themselves. So, first of all, understanding that you need something fixed. And second of all, having someone help you understand how to fix them. That's a big key. Thirdly, if you're 60 plus, you're in the red zone. You're in the part of life where a mistake can cost you the game.
Boy, did we
Yeah.
see
Yeah,
that
we
last
saw that
week.
against Oregon, right? I mean,
I
just
even watched that one. That was a doozy. Actually, I watched it from the parking lot of the stadium because Cameron was marching in the Buckeye Invitational.
oh, that's
What
right.
a
So,
big deal that is, by the
yeah,
way.
yeah, it was really cool, really cool. But go ahead. I know we got to finish.
So, the quarterback slides a second sooner and we might have a chance, but he didn't. And so one little event, just little trifles it might seem like can make big, big differences when you're 60 plus. So it's so important to talk about your money, have that discussion with somebody. Fourthly, you have entered a new phase of life. Okay, whether it's you are a new parent, whether you just got married, all those things are so important that we need to make sure that we are paying attention to where we are in life. And and by the way, make sure you have the right advisor for where you are in life. Even if you've had an advisor for 20, 30 years, it might not be the right person now if you're transitioning into retirement. And finally, you're not getting the attention you deserved. And we hear this more and more from people that are with the big box stores.
Yeah.
When you say big box stores, you're talking about the names we see on the side of arenas and
Yes,
things like that,
yes. Companies like Laurel Minch or,
hypothetically.
but those big box stores that are out there, they're huge. They're worth trillions in many cases, or multiple billions. But are you getting the attention you deserve? And do they focus on the things that you need?